So in this video, we are going to discuss about some control flow statement. So the if statement, the else statement, the else if statement, the while statement, and then the break statement. So this is what we are going to be covering in this video. So let us start with the if statement. So if I have a equal to 4 and then b equal to 7, I can test whether a and b are equal using the if statement. So I say if a different, so this symbol is different than b, I print true. So we get into this only if this condition is fulfilled. So basically the structure of the if statement is if, then we have a condition, then condition, then down we have action. So that's how it works. So this part is the what we call condition, and here is what we call the action. So when the condition is fulfilled, we do the action. So that's how it works. So in this case, let us come back to the example. A equal to 4, b equal to 7. I say if a different than b, then print true, else print false. So in this case, the condition is what we have here, right? Then the action this is an action. So that's how it works. So let us run that. I may not just, let me remove this so you can just see how the if statement by himself work. So when I print that, you can see that I print true because this condition was fulfilled. A is indeed different than b. That's why we print the true. But if this is not fulfilled, let's say I have a 7 also for a, around that, it's not going to print anything because the reason is we did not have a chance to get into this action, right? So when the condition is not met, we cannot do the action. So that's the word. But I can make this something, I can do some printing here using the else statement. So I say else. So what I do, I say print false, right? False. So now you can see that for this, when I run that, it's going to print false. So that means when a is not equal to b, when a is different than b, it print true, else, meaning that this condition is not met, right? It's going to print the other opposite condition, which is false. So that means that a and b are not equal. So when the condition is met, we print this, whatever is down there, which is in this case this. But since this is not okay, it's not true, we go to the else and then we print what we have there. So that's how it works. So if I have 6 there, it's going to print. If I have 9 there, because a is different than b, is going to get into this condition, this action, right? So let us run that. It's going to print true. So that's how the if and the else statement work. And this is also applicable for string because we apply that to integers. So let's say I have a string that I call string A. To A assign the string orange, to B assign the string orange. I say if A equal to B, so this is the condition, and also this is the action. When I run that, it's going to print true, right? Because the condition is fulfilled. So this can be anything. I can just say print 0. If this is true, it's just going to print 0, right? So that's how it works. So you suppose that now you can write a code with the if statement. Now, the if statement can cover many conditions. So in this case, I put 2 conditions here. The first condition is that a should be less or equal to b. And the second condition is, so the percentage is basically the remainder of the division of b by 2 equal to 0. So if you divide b by 2 and the remainder is 0, that means b is a multiple of 2, right? So that's arithmetic. Now let us run that. So it's not going to get into that. The reason is because b in this case is 11. So if you divide 11 by 2, the remainder is not 0, right? So it's not going to get into this action because it fell here, right? It fell on this. This is true. This is going to work because A is indeed less than B, but b is not in multiple of 2, right? So let us run that. You can see that a print one condition failed, right? Now if I put 10 here, because 10 is a multiple of 2 and also 4 is less than 10, both conditions are met, it's going to print a is less than b and b is a multiple of 7. That's what we get, right? Okay, so this is how you can use the if statement, the else statement, the if statement to check for 2 conditions, right? And then if that doesn't happen, you can also print a message or print something from the else statement. Okay, now let us pick one example where you get the input from the user. So when I say a is int is basically input is get the input from the user. I get the input from the user, I convert it to integer, right? The in mean is basically casting. So I convert the input to integers, then I run that. So let me run that and see. So basically, we are going to get the input, check if it's greater than 66. If it's greater, you print the number that you enter is greater than 66, right? So let me just run that. It's asked me to enter a number. Let me enter 100, right? It's going to print 100 is greater than 66, right? So basically, it replaced the a because my input was 100. I input 100, which is assigned to a, right? So I replace my a in this print function by 100. Then the remainder is just the message, right? So the remaining part is just the message that we have there. So that's how to get an input from the user, and again check it, check some conditional on that. You can also do the same thing here. You put 2 function that 2 input, a equal to input something, b equal to input something. You get the input from the user, then you do whatever you have to do here. So that's how the if statement works. And also you can use that also apply for string processing. So string processing is very, very important for people that are dealing with text, because when you are dealing with text, we call text are unstructured data set. So you have to kind of pass the data set. If you can use that to count like frequency of some words, stuff like that, or count how many letters are in the word, stuff like that. So this type of information are very, very useful. So for example, I just call this a statement. So in the statement, I assign this statement department of geography, right? So I can go in that chain of characters and print every individual characters. For example, using the for letter in statement, then I print letters, right? You see they're going to print D, E, and so on, including the space, because the space is a letter. So when I get that, you get that output, right? And also, let me just see if I use a list. Let me say I have a list, this list. I put some number there, right? Let me just stop here. So I can say for I in L, which is my list, print I, right? It's going to print 0, 3, 7, and 8. So you can say that there's a lot of things that you can use the for loop with, right? So this is just some example. Now, if I said I use the for loop here, but I can check for some condition. So if I say for I in L, then I put if I mod 2 equal to 0, right? Or mod 3 equal to 0, and then print I. So let's say in this case, I'm just trying to print the multiple of 3, right? So let me put also 8 here. Let me put 9 there, right? So when I run that, you're going to see that's just going to print 0, 3, and 9. So it's only print the multiple of 3. So basically, I went through the list, checking every individual item of the list. Then also checking if they are multiple of 3, right? If they divide 3, right? So basically, I use the same operator there. The percentage, I say I percentage 3 equal to 0, meaning that the rest of the division of I by 3 equal to 0, that means I is a multiple of 3, right? So you just use that to check for whatever. Now, you can see how the if statement was useful here, because we use that if statement to calibrate, to try to reduce some of the information that we have there. Because if I just print I here, you're going to see that it's just going to be printing all the I starting from 0 to 9. But because we don't want that, we want just to print just the I that are multiple of 3, we comment this and then just press 0, 3 and 9. Now the else statement, we found this already. You can just apply that. Say please enter a positive number. If you enter, so the number is positive if it's greater than 0. If it's not positive, it should be less than 0. So if the number is less than 0, that means this condition is met. We print your number is not positive. Else, that means this condition is not met. Then we print good. You enter a positive number. If it's kind of fun, let me just type this. So if I enter -9, right, it's going to be your number is not positive. Now if I run again, enter 90, then good job, your number is positive, right? So again, the for loop, you can use the for loop in the if loop in one single line. So when I say if, so look at this, you get the input from the user as we did here. It's the same code, but we change the structure in one single line. So we print the message, we print this first, so action. So I will put this in action. So we have action 1, if if condition is met, else we have action 2. So remember, we have action 1, if condition is met, else action 2. So the action 1 is, in this case, is print your number is not positive if C is less than 0, else print good job, your number is positive. So let's run that and see. If I print that, let me -5, because -5 is less than 0, it's going to do action 1. Action 1 is print your number is not positive, right? And then let me run that. You can see that your number is not positive. And then if I run again, and then put let's say 70 is greater than 0, 70 is less than 0. Yeah, 70 is less than 0, print your number is positive. Yeah, print your number is positive, right? Action 2, because C is good, right? So because it's not less than 0, it's greater than 0, therefore we do the second action, right? So let me just put the same number as we did for the first the code above. If I put 90, you're going to see that we get exactly the same result as what we did above. So it's the same as this. That means this line of code is doing the same thing as this line of code. 1, 2, 4 line of code, right? So I like the simplicity of this. You can just use this one to do the same work. It's kind of sometimes confusing, but very elegant, and it can differentiate between an experienced or a good programmer than someone just starting. So you can use this type of line of code if you want to impress someone. So now let us look at the else if statement. So basically we use the else if statement if we have more than one condition. So you cannot say if else, if else, else if, else if. So what you do is we do the if statement, we check for the condition. If the condition is not fulfilled, we use elif to check again the second condition. If it's not fulfilled, now that you do the else, then do whatever else is beside the condition that we was tracking. So for example, I want to check if the number is a multiple of 3. If it's a multiple of 3, I print your number is a multiple of 3. If it's a multiple of so if it's not a multiple of 3, I get into the else if. Then I check if it's a multiple of 7, and then I print your number is a multiple of 7. Else mean this condition is not met, and also this condition is not met. What is left is to print this message, right? So we print this only if the two conditions above are not met, right? You can put as many else if as possible. You can put like one if there, then else if you check another condition, then else if you check another condition, then else if you check another condition. Then when those conditions are not met, the last part is just the else, which is saying that, okay, I check all this and they are not okay. Whatever is left, I just had to print my last message. You use that for the else statement, right? The else one. So the reason why we use the else if is you can check many conditions. So you check if the condition is not met. What do? I check the second condition. If it's not met, I do again another else if. If I check that condition, if not met, I do another else if. I check another condition if it's not met. Because all the conditions above are not met, the only thing left is in the else statement, I print whatever I have to do. You do the action, right? So let me run this. You can see, let me enter summary again. So the number is a multiple of 7 because it fell here, right? Summary is not a multiple of 3, so this condition fell. That's why we did not print this message. Now, because this condition fell, we test this condition, right? We test this. So, and this condition is succeed. That's why we print this message, right? We print this message because 70 is indeed a multiple of 7. Now, let us run another example. So, let us run another example again. If I pick 11. So, 11 is not, in this case, 11 is not a multiple of 3 and it's not a multiple of 7, right? That means these two conditions are going to fail. This is going to fail. This is going to fail. So what is left is just to print the last message. So it's going to say it's not a multiple of 3, nor a multiple of 7, right? So let us run that. You can see it's not a multiple of 3, nor a multiple of 7. So that's how the else if work. Now for the while loop is simple and trivial. So I can say, let's say I start, the difference of the while loop, you have to make sure that you increment or you decrement something, right? Because if you don't decrement, you're going to get into an infinite loop. It's very easy to get into an infinite loop here. I'm going to show you what's an infinite loop. So you can see that I said I equal to 0 here. I say why I is less than 9, print I. So every time I'm going to print I, then I say I receive I plus 1. So basically it's going to print 0, 1, 2, and so on up to 9. Let me see. So you can see that it prints 0, 1, 2 up to 8. Okay, because we say less than. If I less than or equal, it's going to print up to 9, right? So what is happening is here is I start with 0, right? I check 0 is less or equal to 9. Yes. What I do, I print I. I print basically my first I was 0. I print 0. Now I receive I plus 1. This is the same thing as saying that I equal to I plus 1. This is the same thing, right? So basically I increment I. So if the I was 0, I is going to 1. Then I come back again, then check this condition. If it's so 1 is less than 9, I print 1. Then I increment 1, so I go to 2. But look at this. If I remove this incrementation, if I remove this, I'm going to run into what we call infinite loop. Look at this. It's just going to be printing, infinite loop. The reason is because this I is not going up. At some point, it's just going to be keep going. It's not changing basically. So there's no way you will reach 9, right? Because you start at 0, you are fixed at 0, you only printing 0. So let me stop that. Okay, so if I put 1, for example, it's going to be printing only 1, right? It's going to print 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So you can see that with a while loop, you can easily run to an infinite loop, which is not something that you want, right? So we stop it. Runtime interrupt execution. Yeah, it's a little bit, it's not responding quickly. Okay, yeah, so I stop it. So you can see the infinite loop is very, very dangerous. So you have to avoid that. If not, you are going to write some code that are going to be running forever, and you will not find what's the problem, right? So we were here. Yeah, so that's why we have to increment, and then this incrementation is very important. So that's allow you to increase the value of y. That's where you stop at some point, right? Again, you can also decrement. I get the input. I said if the input is greater or equal to 0, I print the input, then I decrement. So basically, if I enter, let's say 10, it's going to go from 10, 9, and so on, because you are decrementing, right? Until we get to 0, because the condition is we do that until we our c is equal to 0. So c start from the input. Let me just put the input here, 10. Then a print 10, 9, 8, and so on up to 0. So if I put this 8, let's say 6, right? It's going to print up to 6, because when you get up to 6, I put 10 again, it's going to print up to 6. The reason is you start with the highest, which is the number that you enter here. We did enter 10, right? We go from 10 and we print the 10, then we decrement. So we go 10, receive 10 minus 1, so 10 become 8, become 9. You go back, you print that 9, you decrement again. 9 become 9 minus 1, it become 8, so you go back and print, and so on. So that's just how it works, and you can see how we test in the while loop. So you can also use that to compare to arrays. Let's say I have two lists here, like list A and list B, and then I use the while loop. I have an increment there that's going to go through the position of the element in the array, and I say that if the element of position if the element of the array are the same, I just print equal, right? If this is equal, it's going to print true. If it's not, it's going to print false. So when I run that, it print true. You can see that this is true, this is false, right? True, false, false, true, right? We have true there. So this is another example on how to use the while loop. So you can see that with the while, I'm going through the indexes of the array, then comparing the element that they have there, and then also incrementing. This is the most important part of the while loop. You always make sure you increment or you decrement, otherwise you get into the infinite loop. Now the break statement is very simple. The break statement is just used to stop the process when you are doing something. So for example, I have this statement here, print all the letters in the statement, stop when you see the first S, right? In this case, S, let me say the first S, right? So what I'm going to do is, because we saw this letters is going to be in statement, so it treat the statement as an array and as a list. So we go through the list and print every single element. We saw one example like that in the previous line. So, and every time we're going to check if we see the S, right, with this condition. If we see the S, we just break, we stop there, and done. We are done. So let's run that and see. So you can see that a print. And the first S that we see here, the first S is this, right? This S. No, this one. You can see that they print everything behind. So it print this or this thing that we have there. So let me run again. It's going to print the different S, right? Because I modified. I don't care about the meaning. So the first S is this, right? So it's going to print everything behind. So you print HT. And the space I also printed there, all is print here, and so on. So you can see that with the break, as soon as we get the condition, we can use the break to just stop. So we stop the process there using the break. So that's all I have for the control flow. Hopefully this is helpful, and I'm going to post more another video on the function basically. Thank you.